Hey, what's up, guys? This is Higgins in Japan, and I'm here with another edition of the ABCs of Japan. Now, if you're unfamiliar, or you just haven't been paying attention, or whatever the case may be, the ABCs of Japan is a video series that I started doing, starting with the letter A, going through the alphabet, and finding different topics, start with different letters that have to do with Japan. So, if you have missed a few episodes or haven't seen any of the episodes, I'll put a link in the description below, and you can watch the rest of those videos and catch up with where we're at. So today we are on letters F and G. I'm doing two at once because, well, first, when I made the list, I put F as fish. And yeah, Japan eats a lot of fish. So it's an island country. They're going to eat a lot of seafood. That's about as long as the video was going to be. The letter G I was going to use for the word gaijin, which means foreigner. But I decided that we're just going to make F and G, foreigner for F and gaijin for G. We're going to make it into one video. So before I start, just know that I know it's dangerous to put your opinion out on the internet and out on YouTube and for everybody to see, but that's what this is. This is my opinion about how I view living in Japan as a foreigner. Now, a lot of people are going to have different views. I'm, a white guy from America who lives in Japan. That's going to be a lot different opinion of Japan than other people of other races and other countries. My experience in Japan is not typical. I don't want to say that, oh, if you're a foreigner in Japan, this is exactly how Japan's going to treat you or how you should treat Japan. This is my opinion. So, that being said, I could be wrong. I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong. Yeah, I hope that, honestly, I hope this sparks discussion. But like I said, this is my opinion. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. I don't mind people that disagree. But yeah, just don't take this as, oh, this is the way it's going to be in Japan, and then you get over here and somehow you're disappointed or somehow things are different or whatever the case may be. This is my opinion. So, that being said, I wrote out a little bit, and I'll try not to just read it word for word because that's not really exciting. But I feel like what I wrote down was good. I mean, I don't want to say that I'm a good writer, but I feel like the thoughts that I wrote down were pretty decent. So, all right, so basics of being a foreigner in Japan, what it's like. So simply stated, being a foreigner or being a gaijin just means that you are not from here. It means you're not from Japan. It can possibly have negative connotations. If you watch Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift, it's a whole big scene where she's in tears because she's been called a foreigner all her life, and that's might be the case in some ways, but I would say that 98, 99% of the time, it's not used in a negative form. Like I said, my opinion, it's not been used in a negative form towards me. Well, it has, but not in a super terrible way. Anyways, I'm rambling. I should stick to what I wrote. So yeah, so basically, it means you're a foreigner. It means that you're just not from here, from Japan, and what it means to be a foreigner in Japan. Whether you think you are or not, or whether you think you should be, or whether you think you're qualified or not, you are representing your country, whatever country that may be, America, Canada, Mexico, I don't know, wherever you're from. In the eyes of some Japanese people, you are a representative of your country. And I have videos about, proper train etiquette and stuff like that. And it's little things like that that can help you, I don't want to say not stand out, but, yeah, help you not stand out as, someone that doesn't know what they're doing in this country. So, Yeah, I mean, whether you think you should be or not, when people see you, they're going to associate you with that country that they think you're from. So if people think you're from America and you're acting like a crazy person in public, that's going to taint their experience of who they think Americans are, or it's going to solidify who they think Americans are. If you're, you know, walking around all crazy, then they're going to think, oh man, Americans, man, they're all crazy. And whether that's right or wrong, I mean, that's the truth of the matter, is that's what they're going to do. Um, Now, I've been working at one of my schools for almost 3 years and working at another school for almost 2 years. And you get to know people. And that's the whole point of like breaking down the barrier of like, what is it to be a foreigner and how do I get people to not think that, oh, it's just another stupid American? You have to get to know people. And sometimes that's not going to happen. You're not going to get to know the random person on the train that you see once and never see again. Um, but I think in that case, it's very easy. Are you hanging off the railing like a monkey on the train? They're going to think you're an idiot. I'm going to think you're an idiot. There's a lot of people that are going to think you're stupid. Um, it's that kind of like first impression. Or if you meet somebody randomly and never see them again, what impression would you want them to leave with of you and your country? Because, like I said, whether you think you should be representing your country or not, or whether you should be representing your country or not, you are. You're here in Japan as a foreigner, and you're going to get associated with that country. So, if you're smoking on the train or you're acting rudely in whatever way, one person's going to see that and they're going to take that with them and go, man, Americans are, whatever they think, or wherever you're from, or wherever they think you're from. Um, so, yeah, so I guess like what you should be trying to do as a foreigner is trying to change people's perception, change people's negative perceptions. And how can you do that as a foreigner living in a country? I previously made a video about a guy I saw smoking in public, and how that's highly frowned upon, how it's possibly illegal but not necessarily enforced type behavior by the police. They're not going to really say anything. Following certain things that, I mean, like smoking in public is one thing in particular. Another thing, and I wasn't really going to get into it in this video, but another thing is tattoos. And that seems to be like a big thing with foreigners in Japan, is they can't get over the fact that Japan isn't accepting of tattoos, or certain people in Japan are not accepting of tattoos. And again, it's one of those things where you have to get to know people. But also, it's your attitude about those things. It's your attitude, not just about tattoos or smoking in public or whatever. It's whatever the case may be. It's your attitude towards those people that you come in contact with. Now, you need to understand that people in Japan associate tattoos with the Yakuza. And whether they should or not, that's not something you're going to change the perception of if you're walking down the street with full sleeves and just tattoos, busting out everywhere, and just like, you know what, Japan just needs to get over its tattoo thing. That attitude is not going to help anybody. That attitude is only going to reinforce the idea that people with tattoos are idiots. And if you want to reinforce that idea, it's very simple to do. Just walk around and have your tattoos out like it's no big deal. You need to be respectful of people's viewpoints, even if you don't agree with them, even if you don't think that they're right. Does Japan need to be so uptight about tattoos? Probably not. I mean, but your attitude of walking around with all your tattoos out and saying, oh, Japan just needs to get over it, that's not the right attitude to have. That's not going to change anything. And so, yeah, it's all about your attitude as a foreigner. Also, the other thing is, a lot of people, I saw this recently online. People complaining about how Japan doesn't speak a lot of English, and how there's not a lot of English signs everywhere, and how there needs to be more English in Japan. And part of me understands that issue, but the other part of me is, you're a foreigner in a foreign country whose native language is not English, and maybe you should learn the language. I mean, you can come to Japan without knowing Japanese. You can come to Japan with knowing very little Japanese and make it. But you shouldn't expect the government. See, I don't want to get all libertarian on you guys. You shouldn't expect other people to bend over backwards because you don't want to learn something. If you don't want to learn a language, then don't complain about signs being in Japanese or menus being in Japanese. And I mean, even that's not a big deal because most restaurants will have an English menu or some sort of menu. Most menus just have pictures on them and you just point to it and say, I want that. But yeah, if you're not willing to learn the language, then don't complain when there's things in a language you can't read. Like, take the time. You're living in Japan, and you're living in a country whose native language is not English. So you need to learn the language, I think, is another thing. And that's, that takes time. But as for Japan not speaking English, I mean, think of it this way. You go to school here, and you get a job in this country at a company that isn't a foreign national or a foreign international country or a company. It's a company that's only located in Japan. They only service Japanese customers, or they only cater to Japanese businesses. You're not going to use English in your everyday life. You shouldn't be expected to know English. And for an American or anybody, I don't mean to pick on Americans. It's just that I'm American, so I'm going to pick on myself, I guess. I shouldn't expect someone to learn English just because I won't learn Japanese. And also, I also don't expect every Japanese person to know English if they don't come in contact with somebody that speaks English. Like, I don't live in Tokyo. I live out in the country, and there's not a whole lot of foreigners here. So I guess what I'm trying to just say is that, Japan isn't your country. You're a foreigner, and a lot of Japanese people know that. So they might not take your opinions and your rants and your tirades about how Japan needs to speak more English if you're only going to be in this country for a year. Again, that's my commentary on it. A lot of people come to Japan and only stay here for a year. A lot of people, and a lot of Japanese people know that. A lot of Japanese people know that you're not going to be here for the long haul, so why should they take your opinion seriously? And think of it this way. As an American, someone comes into America and they say, oh, America needs to change X, Y, and Z, and then they leave. I'm not going to think that they're serious. Like, why would I want to change something for somebody that's just going to leave right away? Why would I want to put up more signs in another language if somebody's not willing to learn the language that I speak? I don't know, maybe that's selfish. Maybe that's one of those, oh, you're in America, so speak American. But I'm in Japan, and I'm learning to speak Japanese. I'm taking classes. I'm taking lessons on how to speak in Japanese so I can better communicate with the people I work with and better communicate with the people I come in contact with. I'm not losing any part of who I am. In fact, I'm making myself better because I'm learning something new. That's how I see it. And I plan on being in Japan for a while. I don't know how long I'll be here, but for somebody to come into Japan and say, oh, Japan needs to change X, Y, and Z, and then leave the next year, I'm not going to take them seriously. Nobody else is going to take them seriously. And that's what you kind of need to, I guess, take away from this. I guess what I'm trying to say in the end is that maybe living in Japan as a foreigner is something that you need to take a little bit more seriously. It's maybe something I need to take more seriously. You know, I'm not saying, like, don't stand up for what you consider to be important. Don't back down on those things. I mean, we all have convictions and moral things and things that we think are important and worthwhile causes. But there's a right and a wrong way to kind of present those. And not to, like, pick on people with tattoos again, but I'm going to. If you're walking down the street and you've got your shirt unbuttoned and you've got all your tattoos showing, and you're just marching around like, see, Japan, I got tattoos, get over it. That's not the right attitude. Like, come on. Don't be a dope. Seriously, though, there's a right and a wrong way to do things, and that's the wrong way to do it. Get to know people, and more than likely they'll be okay. I mean, that's the whole part of being a foreigner in Japan. Getting to know people, getting to know the customs, getting to know the things, the do's and the don'ts. And if you disagree with some of those things, hey, present your argument. Like, I have no problem with that. And I could be wrong. I could be completely off base here. I could be just making a really long video for the sake of making a long video. But hopefully, it's just all about your attitude. That's like all it comes back to. If you have a positive attitude and you don't just assume that everybody's going to hate you, or don't just assume that, like, everybody's all backwards in this country and they just need to get over themselves. Like, I feel like that's such an American attitude, is to march into somewhere and just say, oh, you need to change because I'm the American and I know how to do things better. I feel like that's such a terrible attitude to have, to force another group of people into believing or thinking the exact same way that you do because you think that you somehow know more than they do. Like, that's so prideful. Like I said, I'm willing to admit that I have no idea what I'm talking about. Listen, if somebody presents a great argument in the comment section below, or on Higgins.com, it's not a website. If you go to facebook.com/Higgins in Japan, you leave me a message that says, yo, here's the 10 points of why you're wrong. Hey, I will read that and possibly change my mind. No guarantees. But present your argument in a great way, a positive way. Don't just be nice. People, please. We all have to live in Japan together as foreigners. We should stick together and not have arguments about why Japan doesn't like tattoos. I don't care why Japan doesn't like tattoos. I honestly don't. It doesn't bother me. I don't have any tattoos. But I also don't sit around and complain that I can't go to onsens because I have tattoos. Maybe if I had a tattoo, then I could complain. I don't know. That being said, all of that being said, and hopefully edited down into some format where you could actually sit and watch it, this has been Higgins in Japan, ABCs of Japan. Next time, the next video, I promise, will be much shorter and less rambly. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.